Alrighty, I've got something a little bit fun planned. I have actually been test driving. Figured it all out prior. It was late at night, I didn't feel like filming, but all of this is about to change. So I've got this stainless intake that was built for a VZR Pulsar, which has the throttle body up high. And this also has the throttle body up high. The other thing enabling this intake is a SR20 throttle body. As you can see, that's the difference there. It's pretty substantial. But obviously that would mean that the intake manifold's too small, so I've got this bad boy here that I just painted. Also pod adapter and the finest chinesium. We'll start off, get rid of the hose clamps, back these right off. And there's this little box down below, and these are very well known for reducing intake noise, but they also have a function of storing low pressure air after the air filter. But I think there's going to be a lot more diameter here, so the volume thing's going to be kind of negated. So we'll take our crankcase vent there, and this one back here goes to your idle control. Probably a bit looser. Okay, and this is actually a modified airbox here. This is like a, I think that's 3 inches as well. This is normally this tiny little pipe, so you chop up the bottom half of your airbox and it's just PVC plumbing pipe from the hardware store. I'll go ahead and pull this stuff out. You might find a tube coming from this little box down here, and it goes to a block over here and back to the charcoal canister, and it actually doesn't do anything at all to the way the car drives if it's not connected. Alright, got these out. The airflow meter is just 410mm. The lower airbox might have a mount to hold this on, so those two bolts are a bit tricky. So when you get your pod adapter to suit like a Silvia Pulsar SR20 cars, this bolt pattern is ever so slightly smaller. It just meant I had to elongate the holes just slightly. And next up, I've got 6mm hex bolts holding the throttle body on. The throttle position sensor, gently unplug that, and this here, if you forget about that, you'll get a really high idle for no reason, so make sure you put that back. Getting the cable on, rip on the throttle body, then you can negotiate the cable out. It just slides out. Now with the throttle body off, you can see why I need the modified intake manifold. Let's not scratch that. It's a very clear difference there. So hence, you machine out the bore where the throttle body mounts, because that there ain't gonna fly. That's just gonna make turbulence and lose power. So we're gonna start ripping this intake manifold off, and the first order of business is get the brace out of the way. Alright, now we're in the thick of it. Got a couple of hoses to remove. This one, charcoal canister. And this one is a vacuum reference for the fuel pressure regulator. So pull these two off. If you haven't deleted it, there's going to be two hoses on the bottom side here. Here's this one, and on the other pipe there's a little doodad on the underside of the intake that I've already deleted, so I don't need to worry about it. Then we've got 3 10mm, 2 plugs on the idle control, and the brake booster connection, and then just the 12mm to take off. A few more things I nearly forgot. There's some hidden bolts like this one. There's throttle cable brackets. I need to pull this whole deal off, and there's going to be that one bolt down there. Once that comes off, I'm just going to leave that sitting there and come back to it. If I can't one hand a bunch of these. And there's the two on the side. Okay, just about ready for liftoff. I just pulled the PCV valve connection, and what was it? Yeah, there it is. There's a split in the hose, which could very well become an unmetered intake leak. So I've got a spare one here that's looking much better. I think I'll use that one. Plonk that on there. Is that the wrong way? I think so. Just got that to take off pretty sure, and I should lift off. Vacuum reference and idle control pipe was kind of holding on a bit there. Should just come now. Yep. That's it. Now I can see all these casting marks, ugly bits on this. You know, this one's in much better shape than the one I painted before I did all the filing, but on the new intake I've went and smoothed out a lot of the details. So there's big steps everywhere. I just kind of smoothed it out, nicened it up. All the big casting mark on the runners are smoothed out. Should look nice. Here's that other thing I was talking about. It's a I think it's for raising the idle while the engine is cold, because it has coolant running underneath of it, and then this little solenoid that meters air past the throttle body. And so I just looped it onto itself and been running without it. So now I'm going to take the fittings off of this intake and put it on the new one. This little $4 block off cap, all I needed to get rid of that idle valve. I'll just plonk it straight on there. Bit of PTFE tape just to make sure we seal nicely here. Alrighty, got the new intake manifold on. You can see the before and after of the paint colour. It's a lot more red tone, more bronzy looking, and this is like a greenish champagne colour. I got the 12 here, 12 there, all along the flange, one on the side. And now we can start looking at the intake. So we'll connect our charcoal canister, connect our vacuum reference for the fuel pressure reg, get the hose tidy back in place. It's the most important thing. Just a thin little layer of RTV is all that's needed. Give the throttle body a bit of a clean and wipe down, and we can go ahead and plonk that straight on there. Alright, we can take our 6mm again and just snug these down. For some reason they don't want to let go of the... it's because I'm on an angle. If you had a long shank Allen key, you wouldn't have this issue. This works good enough. Just find that last one. Is it in there? Yep. Okay, it's on. It's on. It's on. And it's on. Happy with that. We can go ahead and find our tube underneath here. It's on there nicely now. Find our MAF plug again. Sorry, the TPS. Good. Open up the throttle body. Insert. A little bit fiddly. Go. Feed it around. Now, for an automatic car, instead of ripping the throttle body, you're gonna rip on the cable to do it. So, pop it in that slot first. Alright, we're ready to start putting our new intake on, and I came to the realization that things might be moving really quickly now. Hold on, this gotta switch that. The hose clamp was facing the wrong way. My OCD was not gonna have that. Okay, so I actually had a bit of a dilemma. The whole reason I never installed this pipe on my other car. We've got this tube that's supposed to go to here. My solution to that, I've got this longer pipe and it's going to pass underneath, connect to here, and then the T piece connects up to our idle control circuit, so that tees it in nicely. Alright, just like that, that's going under into the T, comes in here, through there, that's all sealed up. We can fit our airflow meter now. Okay, so normally it would sit like this, but there's no rules that say you can't sit it upside down, simply for the sake of giving yourself a bit more room with the wiring loom, because it's actually quite tight. So plug that in there and we'll get the filter. Just like that, I believe that's everything back together. So test out if I miss something and it idles at 10,000 RPM. Okay, the idle's pretty normal actually, because I've already had this throttle body on. This little screw on the back side here, you use an 8mm spanner and a tiny hex drive, maybe 1.5 or 2mm, something like that. And that's your idle setting right there. You can hear the dorts now. Take it for a drive. Alright, I'm out on a little drive, and my immediate impression, it's driving a little bit better. Like, I've only just been coasting around so far, and the issue before of the throttle body mismatch with the intake manifold was making it drive really weird. This is quite a steep hill here. Okay, I've definitely gained power. I was watching my speed maintained up that hill, and yeah, there's a noticeable difference in power. Not like that you'd go, wow, that's night and day, but like I kind of know what speeds my car will do up certain hills, and yeah, there's an improvement there for sure, and it's driving a lot better, a lot smoother than it was before I changed the intake manifold. So I had all of that set up, the big intake, but just that purely that throttle body mismatch I think was ruining things for me really badly. It might be a little bit louder, but it's probably very similar volume. Actually, with the windows down, holy crap, the door. Didn't manage to get a look at this in the daytime when I finished because it was already night. You can see the difference in colour. It's a lot more bronzy red look, the new colour. I'm just waiting on the gaskets. You can see the difference with the intake manifold colour. The casting marks are all smoothed out. This one on the back here. All of these little corners all smoothed out, and it's a good result. I like the colour as well. I was aiming for this colour, but off the top of my head. And as I'm mixing it, I'm looking at it, I want to make it more red, and I'm glad I did. This colour is going to look good. Just waiting on the seals to arrive. They're being shipped from America. It's the only way I could get the little PCV gasket. Okay. Do a little cruise at first. Has a really nice growl, and the throttle just feels nice, and found that it actually genuinely has a very noticeable amount more peak power with the larger throttle body and intake manifold fitted. I was expecting like a little bit of a difference, but I've really noticed like there's a few places where I can kind of clock the speed it's able to do on an uphill, and it's doing heaps better now. Meanwhile, there's just there's a big old dirty crane doing a stanky lean over here. What's going on? What's going on with that? Ain't got none air in the tires. Needs some fucking wind in it. Oh my god. What the hell? Do a proper pull. This is actually quite uphill as well, and that feels better than the car used to on the flat. I'm pretty happy with it. And something that's particularly satisfying about driving this now is just the kind of medium leaning into it. It just goes, and it doesn't make a fuss about it either. It's great. See if I can't get a outside flip. Hopefully not too much wind.